If we were in high school together, 10th grade, who was Hulk Hogan in 10th grade?
Oh my gosh, a very fat kid that was afraid to take his shirt off. And even because I lived in Clearwater, Florida, went to school, Robinson High School, University of South Florida, and I was really fat and overweight in high school and really never had a girlfriend until like my senior year. And when all
Is that really you?
Yes.
There's no way that's you.
That's me. And when all the kids, well, maybe I wasn't that fat, but I was fat for the kids that were in shape around me. I wouldn't take my shirt off when we go to the beach. And, so I kind of like, it was weird. So that's why I started working out and training.
Who in your high school ended up being the most famous outside of you? Like who else? Was there anybody that came out of your high school that did well in life that?
Well, at the end of the day, wrestling used to be very territorial. Like Florida wrestling, Georgia, New York, Louisiana, California, different wrestling areas. And two of the guys that were in my high school were a year ahead of me. And one of the kids, his dad was promoter. Mike Graham's father, Eddie Graham, was a promoter. So between Mike Graham and Steve Kern that were 2 years ahead of me, they became kind of like famous Florida wrestlers. Yes, that's it. I was pulling that stuff up so fast. That's amazing.
Right.
But they became Florida wrestlers. And then after that, when I got into the business, they really didn't want me in the business at first. They
didn't?
No, actually, when I went down to work out, they broke my leg the first day. They exercised me until I was going to faint. They put their elbow on my shin, posted my toe, pulled my toe.
Accidentally or intentionally?
No, on intentionally. And they said, don't ever come back again. So, I mean, once I got in, I became the most famous person out of that high school,
Would anybody have guessed it?
Oh, no.
Because were you also shy or no?
Kind of, yeah. Okay. But I was playing music. I was playing in a rock and roll band. And
Got it.
I kind of like what we call heat. I had heat with all the athletes because in high school I had 2 brand new cars, and I was living in a place called the Islands Club at Davis Island. It was a real expensive hotel, and I was playing in a show band there. And so I had like heat in high school because I would play in the clubs till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd still be at homeroom at 8 a.m., but I'd come driving up in my brand new car. And so,
how old are you? 16, 17 years old?
I started playing the Islands Club when I was 17, and my father kicked me out of the house when I was 17.
Now, did your parents make good money? Were they?
No, they didn't. My mom was a housewife. My dad was a pipe fitter. He did all the storm drainage, like around the big malls, the big 6-foot pipe, and he was real good with math. I just remember he'd have a little notepad, and he would do trigonometry on this little pad. No computers back then, of course, back in the day. And he would bend pipes and get everything synced up perfectly for all the storm drainage and all the stuff. He had to know trigonometry and a lot of stuff to be really good at it. But housewife, construction worker, didn't realize where I was on the economic tree as far as where we're at. Had a great life, but didn't understand, that we weren't very well off. So my thing was to get out of that cycle and make something of myself.
Was there fire? Was it like, if I was hanging out with you, and let's just say we're going to, I'm one of your best friends at 17, 18 years old. And we used to go to Denny's and we used to dream like, hey, one day I'm so sick of this shit.
Yeah.
Would your friends hear you one day I'm going to be, or no? Was it more you?
Well, for me, I was, and this sounds terrible, but I was doing anything to avoid working a real job. And, back then when I was playing music in 1972, 3, 4, during the 70s, if you're making $300, $400 a week, that was a lot of money, especially for a kid in high school. So once I got a taste of making money, all my friends that were working normal jobs like McDonald's or construction making $2.50 an hour went, not for me, I'm going to keep playing music. And I kind of like transitioned into wrestling because the whole time I played music around the area, whenever I'd be home, because we traveled a lot, the local wrestlers would come in, and I was scared to death of them. Oh my gosh, these guys will kill you. Cauliflower ears, broken noses, teeth knocked out, all over 300 pounds. Back when wrestlers looked like big monsters, So I transitioned into that, and when I say anything to avoid working a real job, I just wanted to not live the way I grew up. When I realized the way the rest of the world was, I didn't want to be in that cycle.
So was it purely that, or would you consider yourself a big-time, ambitious, competitive kid that you had a chip on your shoulder, wanted to prove a point? No?
Wasn't that at all. It was just wanting to do well in life.
Got it. So you never worked at McDonald's in the past? Because I know
No,
some people
sir.
want to say they worked at McDonald's. You're not making that claim.
Oh, you're not
Okay.
going. You're not going there.
Now I'm just wondering because you said McDonald's. I'm like, listen, I just want to verify that we're not going to get stories.
When did I
of
say
saying,
McDonald's?
Nah, you said your friends used to work at McDonald's. You said you didn't want to be that guy.
No.
You're being honest about it, and I appreciate it because nowadays it's popular to say you worked at McDonald's in the past. But okay, so from there in high school, did you get a lot of fistfights? Like, were you?
No, never.
Okay,
never.
so
I was a great bluffer.
You were a great bluffer.
Yeah, when things push came to shove, I was kind of like a big, heavy-set kid, and I would bluff my way.
And
out
they
of
wouldn't
most
want to
of the
fight you afterwards.
No.
Okay. So were you 6'7" in high school? Like, were you the big kid on campus?
No. But right now, I've always, when I wrestled, I was always over 300 pounds. Right now, I weigh 265, and the last time I was this weight, I was in 9th grade when I weighed 265. That picture that you showed earlier, I had lost a bunch of weight because I got a girlfriend, and I dropped a bunch of weight, before I, ran into her.
Did you lose the weight because of the extracurricular activities, or you lost the weight to look good for your girlfriend?
I lost weight because I was really attracted to this one girl, and she wouldn't give me the time of day. And it took me about 2 years to lose the weight, but then I found a different girl that liked me. So I was motivated by the opposite sex.
Very cool. Were you good with the ladies in high school or no?
No.
Okay,
no.
so that came later on with the skill set, or
no,
that
I'm
was
still
never.
not good with them. I'm not real good.
with them.
I'm not real good with relationships. But this new marriage I have, my wife is a believer of my Lord and Savior. So we are right on track and perfectly synced
Very
up.
cool. Very cool. So
Yeah.
now wrestling, the first time when you're like, I can possibly do this and make some money at it, and working out, is that kind of after high school where you're starting to hit the weights and you're putting the physique together and maybe I'm going to go wrestling? How did that happen?
Well, in Florida back in the day, there was a real popular wrestler named Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, and I became a huge fan of his. And when we were in high school, we could kind of like arrange our schedule when you're a senior, and I had shop class and then phys ed and then study hall all together. So shop class, we would start horse playing around. That would lead into the phys ed class, and then study class if we stayed for study hall or whatever that was, if we stayed for that. And we would wrestle and act like the wrestlers and throw each other around into boxes and do all this stuff. But I was a huge wrestling fan of Dusty Rhodes, never dreaming that I would have the opportunity to get in the wrestling business. But I was such a fan, it kind of just led me in that direction.
Very cool. And how old were you the first time you met him?
Dusty Rhodes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They used to go to a bar. There's 2 streets in Tampa called Kennedy Boulevard and Armenia, and on the corner of Kennedy and Armenia. Armenia Avenue, yeah.
Literally Armenia.
Armenia, yeah.
Why would they call a street in Tampa Armenia?
Well, you can
That
pull
is
it up.
so
He's really good.
Right here? Is that it?
Is that Armenia Avenue? Well, it's called the Imperial Room.
Can you turn it around? You can just spin it and just kind of show it. If you keep going like that, keep going.
Oh, I don't know. That doesn't even look anything like what I used to say.
That was a long time ago. Maybe that was it.
But yeah, I would go there and I'd sit in the corner and even when I was underage, I'd sneak in the bar and watch the bad guys on one side of the room, the good guys on the other side of the room. And Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, baby. He was in there and he was holding court. So I was just a huge fan.
Very cool.
You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but the last 13 and a half years, I've been working on my first fiction book to write, ever. Fiction book to write. And while I finished this book, a year ago, I got the strangest phone call about one of the characters in the book where the guy wanted to meet with me and he read the book. And afterwards was like, wait a minute, am I the villain in the book? This is a story about a character named Asher, who is half Armenian, half Assyrian, whose father was involved in the Iranian Revolution, linked to Savak, working with the Shah, that they escape and he gets recruited to a secret society. When you go to the secret society, it's been around for a couple thousand years. They've developed some of the craziest leaders of all time. And they test you. There's unique tests that they have at the society where they test to see your emotional mental toughness. One of the tests that they have is very rigorous. It's purely mental. Of course, there's a physical one, but one is mental and emotional. If you're Armenian, if you're Syrian, if you're Persian, this is a book you're going to be reading and saying, holy moly, this is the kind of stuff you talk about in here? Yes. If you're somebody that's fascinated by history, this is a book for you. Characters. There's a technology that this society, secret society, builds where you go into a vault. I won't spoil it for you when you go down. They have a technology where you get to sit down and watch and have a 3-4 hour conversation with Tupac. You can set up a debate between Karl Marx and Ayn Rand. Karl Marx is in the book, who wrote Communist Manifesto. Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged, is in the book. Marilyn Monroe explains the concept of seduction and sex in the book. When you read the book, it's about development of the next leaders in the world and how they do it and how they've been doing it for many years. And it's also about how to prevent the end of civilization and how this organization goes about doing it. So I've never written a parenting book before, but if I ever wrote a parenting book, this is the closest thing to it because it's all mindset, a lot of crazy stories. Again, 13 and a half years. Trust me, I told myself I will not publish this book until I sell my insurance company and I'm fully disconnected from it, where it's no longer my responsibility 100%. When you read this, if you're a creative person, if you like fiction books, if you enjoyed Atlas Shrugged, or if you enjoy Divergent, if you like books like that, I think you're gonna enjoy reading this book. It's the creative side. Business books is very easy. Here's how you do it. Here's how this how it works. This is very creative. If you haven't placed the order yet, now you can order it on Simon & Schuster, Amazon. I'm going to put the link up below somewhere here, maybe even in my profile. Go order the book and read it. I've never written a book where I can't wait to read your reviews to see what you think about this book. So I'm going on this wild journey, and we have some plans with this book here. If you support the things that I work on, I would appreciate you going and reading the book, order the book on Amazon, and then post a review.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.